The first thing I became truly interested in wasn't typical teenage things, such as makeup, clothes, and sports, because I found a deep passion in animals. And they weren't the typical animals either, like guinea pigs and dogs. It was pollinators, and they weren't common either, such as butterflies and bees, because I found a deep passion in moths. Now, I know that you're probably thinking, they are small, they are brown, they are ugly, and they will eat your carpets. However, I'm here to tell you that's false, about how both our loved butterflies and slightly less loved and appreciated moths can contribute to our environment to help shape the world around us, from the colours to the plants to the smells. Firstly, I'm going to explain a bit of their life cycle, but before I get directly into this, I'm going to give you a bit more of an in-depth idea of how their biology works. A caterpillar's body has 13 main segments in its head. It has 6 true legs, which will develop into the adult legs of the moth or butterfly, and 2 to 5 false legs. It doesn't breathe like other animals using a circulatory system. It breathes using a tracheal system. It has spiracles, which will pump the oxygen into their body. These spiracles can open and close to prevent water loss. A caterpillar's life is quite a long one, depending on which one it is. It can be either small, short, long. It takes months, weeks, years. It depends on them, whatever they are. Many people may refer to a butterfly moth as being hairy or furry. However, this is wrong. They're more like mini dragons. They have scales which create this hairy effect. However, to the human eye, it can look much more like hair or fur. This picks up pollen from the plants they visit. They will start their life cycle off as a small oval egg, which will get darker as it becomes closer to hatching. When the caterpillar hatches, it will spend a few weeks in this caterpillar stage before it will pupate. It will then spend a few weeks in this pupation phase. However, it's very specific to each species, and they can take different time, depending on which. From my experience, my caterpillars have been extremely picky on what they eat. They usually have 3 host plants per species. However, they usually will stick to 1 host plant, and they won't change once they've started it. Now, I know many of you are probably thinking, why are caterpillars and butterflies and moths important? Well, moths actually contribute to 1/3 of our pollination. They pollinate our daytime plants as well as our nighttime plants, as they can be nighttime and daytime pollinators. They pollinate plants such as honeysuckle, buddleia, and fuchsia, and they can be some of the single pollinators of that plant. Butterflies work with beetles and other insects to increase our biodiversity during the day. Now, my favourite UK butterfly is the marsh fritillaria, which you can see in the bottom right there. The marsh fritillaria is one of the rarest butterflies in the UK. It spends the first few weeks of its life eating before it will overwinter and carefully crafted silk webs. It will then wake up and continue its feed for another few weeks before it's chunky enough to pupate. Their pupation phase lasts another few weeks. One of the reasons why this beautiful butterfly is struggling is because of the increased extremity of the environment. Our weather is really unpredictable at the moment, and the temperatures are increasing, and they just cannot survive this. In addition, one of the rarest moths is the light crimson underwing, which is just by the marsh fritillaria on the left. It's a beautiful small moth with light crimson on its underwings. It will spend its winter as an egg on oak trees, and then it will wake up in spring and continue its feed for, well, until about June. It will eat the trees on the oak tree at late night or the late afternoon. It depends on the caterpillar, obviously. They're all very different. But then it will pupate around June, and then it will continue this pupation phase until middle of July or late September, where it will wake up. Now, this is struggling because it has very specific conditions in which it survives in. So it's just not being able to mate. These specific conditions are ruined by our global warming, the temperatures, which are just not stable enough for the host plants to grow. But did you know not all moths fly at night? One of the most fascinating examples of this is the garden tiger moth, which you can see at the very top left. The garden tiger moth is absolutely stunning. It has these patterns which warn of predators. It will deter predators from going anywhere near it. But not only is the moth amazing, so is the caterpillar. Next to that, you can see a caterpillar which is known as the woolly bear. I think the name probably suggests a lot about how they may look, and the picture, of course, but these hairs aren't there for the aesthetic. They deter predators and can keep them away, and they also keep them safe and warm during the winter months, which is beneficial as they spend their caterpillar stage in the winter through September to about February, and then they will continue their feed where it's warmer. There has been a 92% population decrease in the last 40 years of this moth. There's 11,000 species worldwide, which is absolutely amazing. Now, I'm going to give you some statistics. Since the 1970s, there has been an 80% decrease in moths and butterflies. Overall, there has been an 86% decrease in the small tortoiseshell butterfly. There's been a 1/3 decline in our moths, and there has been, in woodlands, a 50% decrease in moths and a 47% decrease in butterflies. In our marshlands, there has been a 32% decrease in moths and a 64% decrease in our butterflies, which is a truly shocking statistic. there has been an overall 80% decrease due to the 97% of fields that have been lost due to agriculture, land development, and farming, which is horrifying. The main reasons they're struggling is, as I mentioned, due to agriculture, pesticides, and pollution. Now, the issue with pollution is this light pollution can draw them away from their food and their mates. They can be drawn to this artificial light pollution, which can draw them away from this. This light pollution means that they just simply won't find the mates and they simply won't find their food. You may know the saying, like a moth drawn to a flame. It's true, they are drawn to the light, but they're drawn to the moon, not the artificial light. They will also very quickly die by pesticides. Firstly, they will eat the plant which the pesticide was sprayed up on, and then they will throw up green liquid, and after a few days, they'll just stop moving completely. Another large issue is our parasites. The parasitic animals usually eat the host, which in this case is our caterpillar. They will eat the host, and the host will just stop moving completely. It will start thrashing, and then it will just darken and die. There's nothing we can do due to their very weak immune system. Now, another reason they're struggling is obviously agriculture. Due to the increased population, there's more need for food, land development for our houses, and just areas to live. But this has destroyed their habitats. They have very specific habitats, and they're gone. And there's nothing we can do about it at the moment, because we're not thinking about our environment, we're thinking about the people, our food, our families, which we need to think about. But actually, without our butterflies and moths, we'd be placed in a predicament, one I'm not sure we could come back from. So I want to ask you some questions, which I'm not requiring an answer before anybody worries. When was the last time you saw 5 butterflies in your garden? When was the last time you went on a walk and spotted a caterpillar? When was the last time you took 5 minutes from your phone to appreciate the natural world around us? This used to be common. At one point, it was normal. And I'm absolutely petrified standing here and talking in front of people. And I'm sure a lot of people in the audience are probably thinking, why is she talking about this? Has it been done enough? Finding it funny and like, oh, this is just another nerdy topic. But maybe it is, but somebody needs to do something. It's a responsibility, it's a joint responsibility. But at the moment, nobody is doing anything. By all means, I'm not an actor, I do not do drama, I do not want to do drama, but I'm here because I have something to say, and I want to say it, because nobody at the moment is doing it. Somebody needs to start it, somebody needs to do something to start this movement. It's a joint responsibility, but currently nobody is doing anything. We're all sat here thinking something's going to happen, something's going to change. It's not. So what can we do to help in our daily lives? You can leave a small area of your garden wild, but I know most people love their modern look of the trimmed grass, the trimmed garden, perfect hedgerows, perfect flowers. But has anybody thought about how this affects our pollinators, our natural world, and the environment around us? Is it really worth more than a life? So maybe take 5 minutes, leave part of your garden wild, leave it to grow, and just think about the pollinators around us. Maybe think about more than just your phone or your TV or social media. Now, there's charities you can join, of course. You can donate to Butterfly Trust, Butterfly Conservation, and UK Moths. There are also groups you can join. Now, if you left part of your garden wild, there's a significant chance you'd get the peacock butterfly joining you. It's on the bottom left. It happens to be quite common, so if you did leave that small area wild, you get this beautiful insect joining you. And also, if you have kids or just yourself, I think you'd probably enjoy seeing a caterpillar go through its life cycle. It starts really small, but they reach 20 times the size of their original. They shed 7 times, which basically means that they will lose their skin and grow bigger. Now, I know most of you are probably sat here thinking, oh, this is a nice talk, somebody talking about butterflies and moths, nobody really cares about it. But you need to leave that part of your garden wild, because nature was here before us, it's here now, and it should be here after us, but I don't know anymore. I hope it is, but nobody's currently doing anything to change that. Now, next time you're at home, take Wandle afternoon, maybe with your friends, your family, your siblings, well, your friends, family, siblings, and all that kind of stuff. If you have anybody else, any accomplices, any grandparents, just take them in the garden. Take Wandle afternoon, maybe make that piece of your garden wild. Leave it to grow. Leave part of it to grow, and see what you get. See what you get visiting you. They play an essential role to our lives. They support us day to day, and most of us don't even know to what extent. Most of us just assume that there's these small insects which just go flapping around. And I know moths can be scary to some people, but they do actually pollinate more than butterflies. They're more essential to our life and actually do more for us than our butterflies. That's not to say butterflies aren't amazing and we don't need them. So maybe take the next 5 minutes before you go to bed and research about these butterflies and moths. Maybe take the next 5 minutes and do something towards our future. Because otherwise, what you see around you right now won't be here for much longer. Thank you for listening.